Cup champion, NFL quarterback, and BattleBots host.
Here's Sean Salisbury.
All right, we have major breaking news out of the National Football League, and what better timing than now to bring Sean Salisbury on. The Dan and Tanya Snyder have put out a statement. They've hired Bank of America. It says here to consider personal transactions, which guess what? They also consider my personal transactions. They're exploring selling the team. Bottom line is this: who knows? It's Dan Snyder, but it sounds like the pressure may have finally gotten to him, and Dan Snyder begins the process of making Redskin fans the happiest NFL fans in the world by trading him. I'm very curious as to what our next guest thinks. He is the one, the only, the busiest man in show business, the lovely, the talented Sean Salisbury. Good morning, bud.
Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
Okay. Doing good. Not as good as Washington Commander fans. All I see on social media is how excited they are. What do you think's going down here? Do you think Dan sells the team, and your thoughts on how it all is playing out?
In the end, he's going to make what, $3 or $4 billion?
Yeah, I'm not crying for Dan Snyder.
Yeah,
no.
I'm not feeling sorry for him. It's been waste management stuff. He's been trash with the way he's treated people in the building for a long time. Now, for somehow, some way, he's lasted this long, but we should never have to deal with toxic environments where people aren't comfortable, whether it's being inclusive, diversity, people walking down the halls, all those things. And they haven't won much in recent years. So all that combined, and the pressure not only of the public and social media, but also the fact that Dan Snyder has not been, at least by all accounts, a good guy when it comes to this. So he's not going to lose for $4 billion. He's going to still be rich and still enjoy his private planes in life. But in truth is the NFL can do better, and there's better people out there, and there's better opportunities out there. So if he is going to sell, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people in the building or in the surrounding area say, what a bummer Daniel Snyder did this. And it gets to a point, I would imagine, we saw it with Sarver and different reasons, obviously, but we saw it that it gets to the point that do you really want to be dragged like that through what you're going to go through to fight over something when you're going to be $4 billion richer after all this, and you created this self-inflicted problem in your own building. If he does sell, it's overdue. If he doesn't sell, then I would imagine at some point in time it's going to get to the point where he's going to say, you know what, is this all worth it? And quite frankly, the NFL, as I said, can do better. It's time.
You know, Sean, I know there was a time maybe a month or so ago when he even kind of threatened, like, oh, if they want to fight, I'll fight. I've got a bunch of stuff on a lot of owners. Part of me kind of wanted that to maybe get out, but in the end, if he comes out, like you said, for making all this money and never really reveals all that other stuff that's out there. I mean, how much of that other stuff, and I'm just putting that as a umbrella statement, how much of that other stuff is going around with other owners in this league?
Oh, I wouldn't know how much is going on. I would imagine that at times people have been sitting around a table and, oh, you got this. First of all, what kind of character sits around a table trying to gather information on guys from 10 years past when you were into ownership trying to say, well, one day I'm going to use it against them? Who does that?
Right.
What kind of trash lives like that to do that? And the other side is I personally don't want to know all the nasty. Now, if you're toxic in your own building, then get rid of them too. But in their, I don't need to know what some freak is doing behind closed doors. That, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I get it, what you're saying. But if it comes to financial cheating people or toxic in a building or disrespecting somebody in a way that, like, whether it's race or inclusivity or the way you approach gender, all those things, then of course we want to know, because you can't have that in your building. But sitting around a dinner table, what they're talking about over their alcohol or their drink, or when Daniel Snyder's in private, it's obvious that 31 got more power than 1, right, guys? If he does sell, that you can bark all you want, but the question is your bite bigger than 31 other dudes? Because if you're doing that, and that's a fraternity, you sell out 3 of them, they're all going to say, well, is he going to sell out all of us? So I don't know what information he had. It could have just been all talk, but I would imagine that there was plenty of information that others had on Daniel Snyder, and that's part and parcel to what's going on. I've never liked the human being that says, well, listen, since I've been a bad character, I think I'll bring everybody down with me. Eventually, if you're a bad character with bad DNA and bad intentions, you get found out, if you're a good person, you can withstand it. Daniel Snyder, those threats, whether if they were really made, it's apparent that they're not real work because we haven't seen him.
Oh, we go from talking about Dan Snyder and selling football teams to
they may not want getting out. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Sean. You cut out, and I thought I didn't. Sorry,
That's okay.
I thought you cut out, so I thought you were. I apologize for interrupting. We're talking to Sean Salisbury, and so that's the Commanders. Talk to me about my 49ers. Last week it was they suck. They've lost 2 in a row. They're terrible. What the heck? They can't get better. Injury wise, and now it's, oh my God, Christian McCaffrey is basically if Jim Brown and Barry Sanders had a baby. That's my thing. and it's such a roller coaster season. Obviously, injuries are a huge factor, but when you look at this team, do you still consider them a Super Bowl, a serious Super Bowl contender?
I do, because I look at the landscape of the rest of the NFC, not named Philadelphia. The Giants are good but beatable. Seattle's been a great surprise, but beatable, and both probably got the coach of the year. The Rams, the Packers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to have to fight and scratch to even sniff January, with Tampa having the best advantage. Why? Because Tampa's in a weak-ass division. So you look around the landscape and say, okay, who's the best team in the West? If for my money, they completely run roughshod over the Rams to the 49ers.
Yeah. And
Seattle's good, but if you had a one-game elimination to get to the playoffs, who are you picking? I'm picking a healthy 49ers team. I think they're going to win the division. I love what Seattle's done. I'm not a big Rams guy, and I think the Arizona to me is neither here nor there. I don't think they have any idea what they want to do identity-wise either. But I love it. McCaffrey comes in, no Deebo Samuel. Look at what Kyle Shanahan did to get him going. Look at the effect it had on Jimmy. Was efficient, completion percentage, missed a throw but made some big throws, the fade route and the wheel route up in the end zone to McCaffrey. I loved it. Now when you get Deebo out and back on the field and you're trying to game plan against the 49ers, that type of execution, and now they got to control the interior, the line of scrimmage defensively, and the offensive line is going to have to keep people away from Jimmy. But it's another step closer to they close the gap to Philadelphia. Now, I'm not even sure they're the second best team or the third best team right now, but I do believe they're going to win this division. And if they get healthy, and I know it's a big if regularly, but Kyle's never had better weapons. Deebo, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Kittle. I mean, they're fairly loaded. Now can Jimmy make that throw in a single elimination game where a guy is open and you don't miss a throw by 2 feet? Last week it looked good. I like the 49ers. I still think the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Vikings are better. But the 49ers, we've seen this movie before. I think they win the division.
And we're talking with Sean Salisbury. All guests brought to you by the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline, your one-stop Honda shop. Sean, 2 teams you brought up, but basically because they aren't in the mix right now. One, you said Tampa Bay in their poor division, and Green Bay. We're talking about Rodgers and Brady here. Why are those two individually subpar? I mean, maybe they don't have the rosters around them. Maybe they do. Why do you see struggles going on right now with Brady and Rodgers?
Well, Brady, I mean, here's the crazy thing about it. Think about a high bar. Brady's leading the league in passing yards, leading the NFL in passing yards, and he's 45, and the struggle. I'll tell you what it is, but you are exactly right. We want to put it on everybody else because of the Lifetime Achievement Award for both. I get it. But first off, I don't know about you guys. Normally, for instance, Green Bay, normally when they're going bad, if they have in the past, it's like the cat swallowing the canary. Rodgers always felt to me like he knew something the rest of us didn't. Yeah, I'm good. I'm still getting you 13 wins. Well, look at, and I'm not a big body language guy all the time. It can be misleading, but that confidence that I always see to me looks more like frustration and I don't know how I can overcome this. That's the way I feel. And the constant every week, it's, the evaluation of players and why we're not doing it. I don't think they can fix it. Even if they win 1 or 2 in a row, which they will because he's a great player. I don't think they're that good. And and I'm shot offensively. They, again, didn't go do anything. I don't think, listen, Giants, 49ers, Buccaneers, somebody in that division. You take a look at the Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants, as I mentioned. Listen, they're going to struggle to be the 7th team unless they get on a 10-game run, and nothing tells me they can win 10 in a row or 9 in a row or 8 in a row. With Tampa, listen, they're going to put up a lot of yards. I feel like they're a little slow right now. I do. Defensively, they'll go. At some point, I would imagine Brady and Rodgers win 3 or 4 in a row. Neither one of them look like a February threat to me, which shocking it is. Tampa probably better because they've got an opportunity. I know they got far more weapons on the offensive side of the ball, but something's missing. Like the shallow cross just doesn't seem as crisp. The deep balls don't seem as accurate. I think it's everything. They'll throw for 5,000 yards because they're going to have to, but I feel like they're a step behind, but I still think they're going to win the division. And I think the Packers are going to be down to the last week or two trying, if they're lucky, trying to find a way in a wild card. I don't think they win the division. The Vikings are far better.
Yeah. Sean Salisbury with us each and every week, normally Tuesdays. Got him on Wednesday today, as a matter of fact. But no matter what day it is, always good to hear his voice and his insight. Brother, appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you in a week.
Thanks, guys.